Hello, Terry here, Hot Wrench Fabrication. Coming to you live with another, well, I guess not so live. Well, we got another video. It's not a Dunes video, unfortunately, but it is kind of a Dunes related video. We're going to do a little unboxing. I know how much you guys love those. So stay tuned and see what we got in store. So this is the unboxing that I was talking about. A typical tool unboxing. But a trailer unboxing. Yeah. There we go. So this was the sandrail that my buddy Mike and I did all the electrical on. And last trip out, we were supposed to meet him out at the dunes, and Thursday, or actually Friday, when we were going out there, right as we were coming to meet him, he was towing this back with a broken spindle. So I gotta unpack all this crap, build a couple new spindles, and then apparently he had a bit of an oil leak, so I gotta fix that too. But yeah, what a mess. So that's my next series, building a couple spindles and fixing an oil leak on a old North Star sandrail. We'll see how it turns out. All right, current situation. She's a little lopsided. So we got a broken spindle, and if you can see that, been broke for a while. So it's fresh right here in the middle. You can see a gray strip on the bottom and a gray strip on the top. So top and bottom have actually been broke for a while. And then finally the center section gave up. So yeah, he got lucky, it just kind of popped off. So one thing I'm going to fix is the steering angle inclination. And basically what that is the relationship of the upper and lower ball joint. So the upper pivot here versus the lower pivot here, they go straight up and down. Hold on one sec. So if you take this ruler here, you line those two pivot points up. See where they touch the ground? That's your pivot point for the two heim joints. That pivot point actually needs to be in the middle of the tire, because the tire wants to pivot here. Your ball joints want to pivot here. So what needs to happen is this needs to be at an angle so that your pivot points on your ball joints and your pivot points on the tire match up. So what I need to do is build another knuckle that has an angle on there. Steering angle inclination is what that's called. So the chassis builder of this car really set this up the wrong way. Because when you try and turn the wheel, everything is in a bind because those two pivot points don't match up. So in order to get that angle, I'm going to have to shorten this upper control arm, which I needed to do anyway because these bushings inside here don't have a collar. So when you tighten up this bolt, it's actually squeezing on the bushing instead of squeezing on the collar, which is terrible. So I'm going to cut these off and put a lug in there with a heim joint. So we'll have some more adjustability, and then I can actually shorten this up to bring this pivot point over to get angle for my SAI. And then the front end should work a little bit better. So to fix this steering knuckle here would have been, I think, harder than just building a new one. I mean, I'd have to take all the powder coat off in order to weld this thing up properly. You can see the bracket is bent, so either cut that off and start over or try and straighten that out. Either way, that would have been difficult. And then you have to machine this whole entire lug off of here. So if I just start from scratch, I think I'll be ahead of the game here. So that's my goal for this one. And then I need to pull the motor out because there's a pretty good oil leak going on back here. It's just dumping oil. You see it's all dirty down there. It's dumping oil from the rear main or something. So I got to pull the motor. So that's my next video. I'm going to start working on this thing and get it back in the dunes. All right, first step in making these spindles is making a little template. So I measured from here to here. We have a 9-inch spread, and that's going to keep my 2 control arms pretty level. The problem is, like I said before, this is straight up and down, and that's no good. So we need to angle it in. So it's about 2 inches in. So I made that little cardboard template there. You can see the holes are going to be here and here, and then the spindle stub will come off of here. And then I got to build a simple little steering arm. So once I made this little guy, transferred that to a piece of sheet metal, just some 18 gauge. And you see, instead of top being at an angle, I kind of flattened it out, make it look a little bit better. And then I'm gonna have to round this off because you don't want a point right there like that, because that point is digging in to his heim joints right here. So I'll round that off, make it a little bit cleaner. But I transferred this to some nice 3/16 and something like that. So I'm using my arc droid. This is basically a portable CNC. I hook my plasma cutter up, and then once I get this entered into the machine, it'll buzz out 4 of these. I have to set it up still. I haven't cut thick metal in a little while, so you have to get the speed just right, or it makes really crappy cuts like this with a lot of slag. So I'll do a few test cuts first, and then I'll show you guys once I get it all set up. All right, so I think I got it pretty well set up. You see I cut one out already. Got this one out. Just got to tap it out. So I'll show you guys how this works. Turn this on, push that button, push the button. All right, that easy. So this little arc droid is something that's fairly new. Wait till this air compressor stops here. Come on. So these things are fairly new. I don't know exactly how long they've been out, but this is for, you know, a small shop like mine where I really don't have room for a big plasma table. Some of the 4x4 tables or 4x2 tables are actually pretty affordable. About the same price point as this, but you know, if you don't have room for it. This all just folds up, and I keep in this little crate down here so it's out of the way. And I built a little stand for it. Just used a stainless steel serving tray, put some water in there, built some slats. But this thing is awesome for doing this kind of work. It has a trace function on it. So you put this in the arm here and just trace around whatever it is that you're making. So this was my original design. So I trace around that, and then once it's in the computer, it just keeps repeating. So all you have to do is just move the, oh, see, it's already popped out. So I adjusted the feed on that a little bit, and it still has a little bit of slag, but that actually comes off pretty easily. You just give it a little whack, and it just chips right off. So minimal amount of grinding to get that stuff off. But just move your table, and then you have to recenter this thing, and that's probably the most time-consuming part. You push 0, machine will power, hold position. All right, there we go. So once you re-zero it, then you run a dry run just to make sure that you're not going to go off the edge, which I am. So I can just kind of adjust this. Oh, there we go. Perfect. And see, I could just move my metal around, kind of put it where I want it. And this is probably going to get into this piece right here. Which it is. And oh yeah, just barely. Oh my gosh, that's close. If this would have been down a little bit more over here where I wanted it, that piece would have cut out. But now, actually, I'm going to probably go up here. Let's see how that looks. Anyway, you get the gist of it. So I'll center this out, try and cut that piece right here. Okay, so now we got 4 pieces. Match, very nice. Got to clean them up now. So I got this magnetic chuck. It's really cool for holding little pieces like that. I mean, obviously you could put them in a vise or you clamp them down. I have a welding table with clamps, you could put them on there, but this is so much easier. Boom. So it's that simple. Then you release it. The other side's actually really clean already, but we'll go back over it. So that's it. So I need to go back and do these edges. You can see the plasma cutter actually cuts pretty good when you get the right speed, or the feed speed. So I'll knock all these edges off, and I'm actually gonna stack all these together and put a little tack weld on them. And then I'll go back and grind the edges, make them all exactly perfect. And then I could drill my holes exactly in the same spot. And then just grind the tack weld off. And it'll be nice. So I will do that next. So there we go. I'm actually upside down, but it's gonna go something like that. All ground down, so these are almost perfect. I could grind them a little bit more, but really don't need to because they're all going to get boxed in. So all I could do is just cut that little weld, but The holes are exactly where they should be. And that's going to go on there like that. Now I got to build some plates and get this all boxed in. So relatively simple. I don't have a whole lot of time in it so far. But yeah, it's nice. So I got my spindles, blanks I guess they are, billets. Got those made, so I just cut out a rectangular plate, milled a hole, welded it from the inside and the outside, and then that's going to go on here, about like that. And I left just enough room to be able to fill in that nice corner gap right there. But first what I'm going to do is put some plates in here, box this in, and then I'll weld this on, and then this will all be plated. So it's going to be super strong. All right, so I ended up doing a little tab and slot. It's actually the first time I've ever done this. So I cut these out on my plasma. Showed you guys that. 4 nice little squares. Put them in my mill and knock the edges off, and then milled these little grooves in here. I mean, they're not perfect, but it doesn't really matter because they're going to get filled up with weld. So that goes in there like that. We'll weld this up. This just makes it a lot stronger. So something like that. And then these go on here. And then these go in here. And then this goes on there. Boom, just like that. So that'll give the actual place where the spindle goes on a lot of strength boxed in right here. A tremendous amount of load between the lower ball joint, basically the heim joint here, and where the spindle's at is where all the strength needs to be. And then this will be set right there, and then I'll fill these gaps in completely. Don't really need to get to it from the back side because you're getting 100% penetration here. And then this will be boxed in. Don't really need a box on this side. If anything, I'll probably have to mill this out a little bit to give it a little clearance. But that's easy. And then, of course, the back side will be boxed in also all along here. So super, super strong. Whoop. And all I have to do is duplicate that, which is pretty easy because I cut all 4 of these plates out at the same time. So I'll put nuts on here and tighten that down. And then these are a little loose, but once again, no big deal because once they're all welded up, I mean, the gap's even better because you'll get some weld in that gap. So yeah, nice, nice. Oh, hey, good morning. You got here early, huh? Got my cup of joe. All ready to start the day. So this is what we got done. We got a pretty good start on these spindles. This is the second one. This is actually the this is actually the right side, and I still got to finish it up a little bit and make my steering arms. These guys right here, figure out the geometry on that, but I now have, sorry for that, 2 spindles. So this was the old one. Actually pretty meaty. They did a halfway decent job on it, but unfortunately the geometry was completely wrong. So yeah, continue working on these girls. I don't know why I said girls, that's kind of dumb. Working on these spindles. I gotta notch this out still. Make a little clearance for the heim joint. But we will continue working on these things. All right, there's one kind of done-ish. Obviously I gotta put the steering arm on there still. Make an arm for that. Figure out where that's gonna go. It's gotta stay even, so right about there somewhere. And then you can see that it's at an angle, so I still gotta cut these, cut the upper and move it in, but it's pretty close. I'm gonna box the back of this, finish it up, make it all strong, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. So I got the other one. The other one's done. Ready to go together. Got my little grooves cut out. My heim in there so it keeps a spacer, and then these pieces are already cut and ready to go. So more welding. All right, mock-up is coming along nicely. So you see I cut this piece off and then shorten this up. Like I said before, they just had these bolts going right through these bushings with no collar in there. So it's literally riding on these bolts, which isn't the end of the world, but what happens is when you tighten this up, and you can see there's actually a gap on this side where it's already loosened up. When you tighten this up, you're squeezing together on this bushing, and when it goes up and down, you're rubbing on the outside. There's no way to actually tighten this bolt because you're not making a positive connection here. It's always going to have some flex. So see, that bolt's already loose. So I don't know who designed this thing, but it's absolutely terrible job. All you do is put a sleeve in there, the exact width, and then when you tighten it up, you tighten it down on that sleeve. You can crank it down, and then it's riding on the sleeve, not on the bolt. So I don't know, that's dumb. So I cut that off, right? Got heim joints on there. Try to make even spacing on here. And right now it's actually sitting a little positive. So I'm gonna need to cut just a little bit more off of there and get it set in. Once it's pretty close on the lift, then I still have tons of adjustment on all these points. So that'll be nice. So it's coming along good. And then after that, I will go in here and box all this up and then make my arms for my steering, and it'll be done. A little update here. I'm just about done. Made a couple tabs for my steering arm. So there's a thing called an Anchorman angle. When you turn the wheels, the inner wheel is going to turn in a tighter radius. So think about a big circle with your two tire treads. The inner wheel turns in a tighter circle than the outer wheel. And that's going to tow the tires out on turns. It's called toe out on turns. And the way you get that is with your Anchorman angle. So you have to have, instead of the steering arm coming straight out, you want it at an angle. So if you were to draw a straight line through the pivot point, which is your upper control arm or your upper ball joint, if you draw a straight line, it should go back and pretty much meet the center of the car or the transmission back there. And what that will do is when you turn, it will actually make this tire turn more than that tire. So I think we got that pretty close. Also, you want all three of these bars pretty level so that you don't have bump steer. So bump steer is when the suspension goes up and down, your toe will actually change if you have these three bars out of alignment. And they should be pretty close to in line. So this one's a little wide. These three pivot points should be pretty close to in line, and these three pivot points should be too. So You know, if you look up and down here, this is about an inch or so, maybe 2 inches out. If you draw a straight line through here, this is about 3 inches out. So it's off a tiny bit, but it should be fine. I'm sure it'll have a little bit of bumps here, but not that bad. So now all I have to do is blow all this apart, make some gussets, some little plates in here, and make some plates in here, finish boxing it all in, and finish welding this all up. And I'll be done. So it is a good thing that we did both sides, because this side actually has a crack in it. And it might be kind of hard to pick up, but right here there's a crack that goes all the way across. I can actually feel it with my fingernail. Also, whoever powder coated this, powder coated over the seal surface. This all right here is where the seal rides, and they powder coated over that. So the seal was burning into the powder coat. So not too great, kind of stupid. So making good headway. Yeah, almost finished. Obviously I'll need to set the toe out after I'm done, because this tire's kicked out a little bit. But I got plenty of adjustment on here to set the toe and let it go. Okay, so we're going to show you how simple it is to make a bracket. A lot of this stuff I haven't shown you guys, but I want to make a little gusset. So you just take a piece of cardboard, make yourself a little template, and this is going to have to curve, so I will tack it on here and then smack it down. But really simple little gusset. Make it out of cardboard first, and then if you have an arc droid, this is how simple it is to actually make something on here. It's pretty cool. Wow, that's almost perfect. So I think we'll just do that. So this has a tracing function. You just move this little knob here, push trace, and push the button, push the button, push the button, and push the button, and push the button. And you can see right there, that's what it's going to cut out. So I can exit out of here, exit, and run. Well, hitting my little cardboard, but you could see. That's the shape that it's going to cut. And then I can move this a little bit if I want. Put it closer to the edge. So now we just take off this and plug on this. And make it really, really easy. Turn your plasma, make sure it's plugged in. This is the remote. And I'm going to see right there, the lightning is off, so I'm just going to run it one more time. And that's it. get another one cut out. I don't know if we're gonna have enough room. Oh, dang it. Oh, yeah, that's barely. Yeah. So you get the gist of it. I'm gonna go grab another piece that's a little bit bigger. This is just a piece of scrap. But yeah, a piece of cake. So there's my little bracket. I just gotta knock off the slag. You see it just flakes off. Piece of cake. And yeah, I could have cut that by hand with a straight edge, but now it's in there, and there we go. Which way does this thing go? There we go. I had to stick it in there the right way. So yeah, fits pretty good. So we'll just fill all that in and I'll be done. Now I got both spindles pretty close to being done. I still have to build a brake bracket, but I'll get the rotor put on there. Next thing is to make some bushings. These brackets were really wide, and with the misalignment bushings in there, I have to build some little spacers, so super easy to do that. I just measured the width of this and then measured the width of heim joints, subtracted the 2, divided by 2, and that gives me the length of the spacers, which is 3.625. So both sides. So I have 8 of those to make, and it's very helpful when you have a lathe. Just took a old chunk of 1 inch that I had laying around, cleaning it up a little bit, and I'll drill a hole, 1/2 inch hole through it, and then just make some slices and make my butchings. Lathes are so helpful, and I use the lathe twice as much as I use my mill, but you really need them both. They go hand in hand. You know, to have somebody make a bushing would take forever and cost a fortune. I mean, you could use maybe some pipe, go to the hardware store and get the right size pipe, but you can see it's really thin, and this is basically what I'm making right here, almost like identical. So super nice to have a lathe. Not everybody can afford it, but if you're going to do this kind of stuff, it helps out a lot. Well, this is pretty much done. Got my brake brackets put on there. They spin, and a little line right there is right in the middle of the rotor. Perfectly spaced. All my little spacers are in here. Gotta tighten it up still. I gotta paint the ends here, sand it and paint the ends black. They're way up in there, so you'll never even notice. This was the side that broke. I had to straighten the rotor and straighten the bracket. It gets off just a teeny bit, a little bit of a high spot still, but it's not so bad. It spins. So got to take everything apart, clean it up, powder coat it, and then she'll be done. And then I have to pull the engine out and do the oil leak. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Welds are kind of nice. I don't weld very often. I've been welding for a long time, but I only do it once every couple months or so. So I need more practice, but I think it looks pretty good. And the toe is actually decent. I mean, if you look at it, that's straight towards the back. Obviously, I need to measure it when it's on the ground with the tape measure. But just sitting there, freaking nailed it, bro. Yeah, looks good. All right, pretty much done with the knuckles. Got them powder coated. I'm on a little powder coating machine. I didn't show it because I have some other videos on it, and you can learn how to powder coat all over the interweb, but did this almost like a chrome silver, which matches nicely with the tie rods. But yeah, turned out pretty good. Still got to tighten it up, but I was going to wait to do the alignment. Once all that's tight, there won't be any movement in there. I painted the ends of this black, scuffed them up and painted it black, so turned out really nice. So just looking at it, eyeballing it right now, it looks absolutely perfect, but there's a lot of adjustment. I have adjustment on this one and this one, which can do my camber caster. This one can do camber, this one can do camber, and these ones are fixed. So yeah, there's plenty of adjustment on there. It looks pretty nice. So she's back on the ground. I'm gonna take a quick look at this alignment. All you gotta do is use a framing square, put it on the ground. You can see there's a little bit of a gap. That means it has a little bit of negative camber. You could actually measure that if you want, but for a sand rail, eyeballing it is good enough. We go to this other side, and it's actually just the opposite. A little bit of positive camber, so the top of it's sticking out just a teeny bit too much. So all I have to do is just screw that in a little bit, or screw those ones in a little bit, and fix that side real quick, and it'll be done. So I mentioned this thing had a pretty good oil leak. Pulled the motor, and looking at the rear mains all mangled up, but the thrust, dang it, hold please. I don't know if you can pick that up. You can definitely hear it, but it's moving back and forth about 1/16 of an inch. So the thrust bearing is the one that controls the in play on the crankshaft, and it's completely shot, which means the whole entire engine is probably shot. So I got to take the pan off, take a look at it, and see what's going on. But yeah, there was a bunch of oil on the bottom when I took it out. It all dripped all over the floor. So the pilot bearing, which goes in here, completely shattered. That was gone. So the whole end shaft of the transmission was moving up and down. See, that part of it's broke right there. So with that moving and leaking, plus the rear main seal leaking and crankshaft moving, that's a complete mess. But what's not a mess is this front end. Got the alignment all set. Tires are straight up and down, or actually a little bit of camber, negative camber. But the toe is right on the money, a little bit towed in. Got it all set up. All I did was just turn this one in a little bit. But they turned out really good. So you should be happy with that. So I think that's going to conclude this portion of the video. I'm not really going to video the motor because I don't even know what I'm doing yet. And that's going to be a mess. It's going to take a while. So we got to figure out what's going on. We have a couple different options. Fix the North Star. I have an extra 5.3 steel block that could be used. I found an aluminum 5.3, which we really need, but that's kind of an expensive swap. So we'll figure it out and get it done. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Hope you learned something. And if you like this type of content, please give it a like, maybe a share, and we'll catch you on the next one.